We've made a choice to podcast a series of responsibilities. A podcast that you can never be a part of, but you can certainly enjoy the antics of your friendly neighborhood podcast by visiting patreon.com/Wesescast Productions. For less than the cost of a bucket of tritium, that precious tritium, you can support our show. Bonus content, early access, and oh so much more. You'd have to be cheaper than Jameson to not win in on this deal. Again, that's patreon.com/Wesescast Productions. It's like having the power of the sun in the palm of your hands.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
They say train fights are impractical, but we can top that. Welcome to the After Credits Cast, the only film podcast to air live from the top of a runaway train in the middle of New York City. But it's fine, because we have the amazing Writer Man here. I just love the shitty sound
I swear that's web. I swear to God that sound is web, guys.
I love the
Please.
shitty jizzing sound effects. It's great.
It's web! God damn it.
I am your host, Dr. Wesescapus, and with us today, we have that rude usher we pulled from the theater. It's Robbie Nelson.
Yeah, good to be back.
I honestly couldn't find a character with a better name to match with you, so I just went with the usher guy. It's great.
Oh, that's right.
But secretly, you're Mysterio, and we all know it.
Mm-hmm.
How much of an asshole do you have to be to give the guy tips on how to improve his dress and, like, really tidy himself up and then say, get the fuck out of the theater? Seriously, guy, for real?
Great scene, man. Such a great scene.
A lot of fun. And if you guys want to follow us on different platforms, you can follow us on Patreon, YouTube, Peepa, Apple Podcasts. I said it right this time. Ha, fuck you. Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, all of them. They're all there. Make sure you eat your vegetables. You can get us on all of them.
Right.
Yep. You can also follow us on Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook. It's important to keep up with us so you can know what we're doing every single day. I remember to post something. And if you want to reach out to us, you can leave comments there or email us directly at Ryan.
At me? No. That email is actually Harry Osborn is piece of shit. Excuse me. At evacstation@gmail.com.
I mean, is he that big a piece of shit? I mean,
Harry Osborn is a piece of garbage. We'll get into that later.
Listen. If I made an investment in some dude with some crazy weird arm prosthetic and he messed it up, I'd probably get drunk too.
Would you then get drunk enough to send said 8-armed monstrosity after your best friend?
Ryan, I'll tell you something. I've never actually been drunk. I don't know what I'd do. I don't know what that Aaron would be capable of.
Oh, God.
For all I know, he could be the next Hitler, and I'd be scared to find out.
Oh, my God. That's amazing. All right, so that will be the darkest timeline when drunk Aaron from another timeline shows up and it's just like, all right,
It's time to begin.
Take over the world.
We can make a short.
Oh my God! Now I'm imagining like Aaron just popping out of like some spaceship, like Rick from Rick and Morty. Like, come on, Ryan, we gotta go. We gotta save the universe. We gotta save the universe, Ryan. Come on, Ryan.
Oh man, I would pay for that short. That'd be great.
Yeah. All right, fans, get on that shit. We need it.
Welcome back to Spider Month. This week, 2004's Spider-Man 2. I actually wrote out the word 2. I don't know why. Which is widely considered by critics as one of the greatest superhero films of all time. We're going to find out that's true today. Writing credits go to Alfred Goh, Miles Millar, Michael Chabon, and Alvin Sargent. As we've said many times before, this does not mean that they are responsible for the final story. Directed by Sam Raimi, this film went on to cross $783 million, which is 3 times what it cost. A little lower, but it's still good. The cast includes Asif Mandiev, Dylan Baker. I know a guy from work named Dylan, so I like to mispronounce it. Rosemary Harris, James 420 Franco, Kirsten Dunst, Tobey Maguire, J.K. Simmons, and the 8-armed freak, Alfred Molina.
Man, that precious tritium.
This movie is a winner of several awards, even if Willem Dafoe's only in it for 2 seconds. An Academy Award for Best Achievement in Visual Effects for bringing back Willem Dafoe. The EST Fantasy Film... I don't know what I wrote here. East Fantasy Film, Best Act... Oh, it's supposed to be Best. Fucking typo. Best Fantasy Film, Best Actor, Best Director, Best Writer, and Best Special Effects from the Academy of Sci-Fi, Fantasy, and Horror. They just did a clean sweep there. The AFI Award for Movie of the Year. A BMI Film Music Award to Danny Elfman, because he always deserves it. And a Best Director Award from the Empire Awards UK. A lot of good awards. A lot of good stuff here. Ryan, speaking of good stuff, what do we have for fun facts this week?
All right, well, fun facts we have are 4 for this movie. I'm sorry. I said 4 so many times. First of which, Tobey Maguire's participation was in doubt at one point because he was suffering from severe back pain. Now, Jake Gyllenhaal, oh my god, I want to see the timeline where he plays Spider-Man. But
that's
Jake
Gyllenhaal
Gyllenhaal
the timeline
was
with Drunk
lined
Aaron.
up to... Yeah, that's it. That's the darkest timeline. Jake Gyllenhaal was lined up to play Spider-Man and had already begun preparation, but Maguire decided to take part after all. However, according to the DVD commentary, the "my back" joke after Peter falls from the roof was purely coincidental, as it was written into the script before Maguire's problem arose. Now, we'll return to Gyllenhaal before this season is over. Oh, that's why he was fucking with Tom Holland, because he should have been Spider-Man. Oh, no. All right. Now, next up, when Jonah Jameson offers the scruffy man $50 for the Spider-Man costume he found, he replies, "I could get more for it on eBay." Now, in 2001, 4 Spider-Man costumes were stolen from the set of the first Spider-Man 2002 movie. They eventually were recovered after an 18-month investigation with the arrest of a former movie studio security guard and an accomplice. While Columbia Pictures offered a $25,000 reward for information leading to their return, movie memorabilia experts estimated the value of the costumes at about $50,000 each. That's a really good costume, though. Now, next up, the phone number on Peter's helmet for Joe's Pizzeria is actually to a real New York pizza place. That's 212-366-1182. Evidently, they love the publicity.
I can only imagine.
Be surprised if they used it for free. I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, "Please use our phone number. Oh my God, please do it."
How much money do you think they made since that happened? Because I gotta imagine they're making buku bucks there.
I could see it.
Sure.
Now, finally, Alfred Molina is actually a big fan of Marvel Comics and was excited about his role in the film. According to him, the stunt team would also trick him into performing a stunt, so he's already one step lower than Willem Dafoe. I still can't believe he did all his own stunts. What the fuck? Sir, what are you doing? Oh, God. But yeah, that's it for fun facts.
Yep. So we'll do some initial thoughts, get those going real quick. Robbie, what are some initial thoughts for you?
I love this movie. It's one of my favorite comic book movies ever, including all the more recent ones. It really does a great job of, like Ryan talked about last week, with the emotional arc for Peter. How much he gets shit on. It just really shows that. And Alfred Molina was a revelation as Dr. Octopus. He did such a great job of not just being this classic villain, but giving him a background story that made you empathize with him. It reminded me a lot of what they did with Mr. Freeze in the Batman animated series, where you just felt this for him, even though he was supposed to be evil. and that was just awesome too. So like it's a great story. It continues on what we built with the first Spider-Man movie, and just took it to a new level. So easy to rewatch, just excellent film.
Oh man. Well, I also personally love this. Contrary to Robbie's take on it, this is a bit harder for me to watch. Not because it's bad, but because there are just some sad points in it, man. These are the trials and tribulations of one Peter Parker, where it's like you just the first half of the movie is entirely all the costs to Peter Parker for trying to be being Spider-Man and trying to save everybody that he can. Like you see it compounds on his life in so many different ways, and it's hard. But this is definitely one of the great comic book movies because it manages to capture that fun feeling where he's actually fighting Doc Ock, but the majority of the movie is also the sacrifice of the hero, how much the hero gives up, and how it seems like the weight of the world is on their shoulders, but when they want to give up, they realize just the hope and the hope that his heroism brings to everybody, and how one day people will be years away saying we stood outside in the rain for hours just hoping to catch a glimpse of Spider-Man flying through the air. So I think it's definitely a harder comic book movie, but it's absolutely one of the greats.
I'll jump in. I think this film takes a lot of the lessons learned from the first one and really applies them in ways that makes this one feel like an elevated step up from what we had before. And not that the last one was bad by any means, but you can tell that Raimi is learning. You can tell that everyone's really getting into their characters more. And you can tell they're taking a bit more risks with certain items as well, like the stunts and the effects and whatnot. So,
yeah.
And they had more of a budget to work with, from what it looks like. So I think overall we're looking at a definitely more polished Spider-Man. And I'm looking forward to jumping into this one. Are you ready for this sequel to my previous synopsis?
My Coke is full. I am ready.
Here we go. Things haven't gone great for Peter since his surrogate father, Willem Dafoe, was killed. By him. Last episode. Karma's a bitch, Peter. He loses his job at a pizza delivery job. He kind of loses his photo boy job. But not really. And he also gets reminded of just how much he disappoints Mary Jane after having rejected her advances like an idiot in the last episode. And now his powers cease to stay active, which is likely a metaphor for his impotence. No, I'm not projecting, you are. Fuck off. Meanwhile, Willem's actual son inherited his company, is investing in it all in a scientist working on a fusion machine. Of course, like everything Harry did, it failed miserably. This scientist, Otto, had his metal arm prosthetics melded to his spine. The arms take over, and he becomes Dr. Octopus, trademarked. He wants to make the science happen again, so he does what any self-respecting scientist would do. Apply for another grant with another company and make big promises. And when that fails, he robs a bank. Spider-Man mostly stops him, and Doc Ock needs to rethink his strategy. Spider-Man gives up being Spider-Man after fighting with Harry, and his crush moves on to getting engaged with an astronaut. Sorry, Pete, can't compete with them space boys. But after a series of incidents occur, Peter realizes he just can't let the city burn. So he steals back his costume and goes to fight Doc Ock on a train. Spider-Man, Jesus Christ for a moment, before getting kidnapped and taken to Harry. Harry wants revenge for the death of Willem Dafoe, don't we all? When he sees it, it's his best friend. He hesitates to do what must be done. Spider-Man gets away to save the girl from Doc Ock in the final battle. He gets Otto to stop acting like a loon and is helped inside the city. Otto uses his arms to destroy the machine, but drowns in the process. The girl pulls a Rachel Green and leaves her astronaut at the altar to finally be together with Peter. Because apparently she's willing to settle. Also, Harry sees Willem in the mirror, telling him to start fires and murder Peter. Seems legit.
Yeah.
Tune in next time for Spider-Man 3, A Marriage Story.
Oh, that's good.
Why weren't these subtitled? I have great subtitles for these. What the fuck, Sam Raimi? To be fair, that reference wouldn't make sense until 2019, but still.
Yep.
Gentlemen, what do you think of this movie?
Are we going to start with the good or the bad?
So, let me ask you this then. Do you have more good or more bad?
I have more good. I absolutely think the movie was more good, was overall good. Like, I thoroughly loved it. It's just, there are things that irritate the fuck out of me.
Then why don't we go ahead and knock the bad out of the way first and end on a positive note?
Okay, so first and foremost, Harry Osborn is a piece of shit. He is a piece of human garbage. We didn't get to talk about this last week, but let's talk about the fact that without talking to his best friend, he starts dating the girl his best friend's been in love with for years, for a decade, a clear on decade. Never says anything. Yes, I absolutely understand Peter did not make a move, and like by no means does Mary Jane belong to anybody, but god damn, you can't talk to your boy for a hot second and say, look, I'm really interested in this girl, but I don't want to be a dickhead and just date her under your nose, so let's talk it out. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Well, Ryan, it's a thing about privilege. I mean, I think Harry has privilege, and he's exercising his right to use it.
Yeah, that is a perfect segue to how he's just a like at the end of the day, he's just a spoiled fucking rich kid.
You called it last time, didn't I?
Yeah.
God.
That's why.
I'm sorry, Robbie. Go ahead, please.
No,
please.
I was just gonna say, Harry has always been just a spoiled rich kid that is, jealous of his friend Peter getting attention from his dad. Peter having this relationship with Mary Jane that she's in love with him, or he's in love with her, but he's like, oh, I don't even need her. So he's just like, well, I'm a date her because, I can because I'm rich, bitch, So it's just, yeah, I think it's just a privilege thing, which he is a piece of shit. Let's just be honest. God. And it doesn't get better either. Oh.
It gets worse. It's really sad because when you see him at the beginning of the first movie, he's not all that. He is a young kid with the shadow of his father looming like heavily over him, like the weight of like his upbringing and his money. Like he doesn't really know how to fit in with the rest of the people, but he had his boy Peter through thick and thin, and then over the course of the movie, you just see him fall slightly and slightly and slightly, just becoming more and more of a rich dickhead. And it makes me sad to see him fall so hard, especially in this movie. In this movie, it is pronounced, like, how much of a spoiled rat he is.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So, my other gripe with these people, I feel that Mary Jane Watson is not that great of a person because she's constantly leading or trying to get something from Peter while being in relationships with other people. Like, for real.
Okay, hold on. I want an example. What are some examples? Just for the average layman.
At the beginning of this movie, or towards the beginning of this movie, it's Peter's birthday. She comes over for the birthday party, and after the birthday party, she sticks around so that she can talk to Peter one-on-one. And the subtext is screaming, "Kiss me, you moron!" Like to the point where she's leaning in, she's speaking very softly. She's like daring him to make a move, and then when he doesn't, she says, "I'm seeing somebody. By the way, it's pretty serious." I'm like, what? Where the fuck did that come from? If you're already dating somebody, then why are you doing this?
Okay, but in her defense, she tried to offer a relationship at the end of the last one, and he said no. So
yes, Very true. Very true. Which is why it's kind of a dick move for her to keep going after him when he's already said no. Especially when she's already dating this dude, that it seems to be pretty serious. I mean, he proposes the next time we even see her with him. So we can tell they've been dating for a while and that it is serious. So her just dangling this thread in front of Peter, like daring him to do something, it happens throughout the entire movie. She's been with this dude and she's engaged to this dude for a good 2/3 of the movie. And yet it's constantly, well, maybe Peter will come to the play, and or maybe this, or maybe I'll meet him for coffee, or maybe I'll ask him to kiss me while I consider whether or not to dump my fiance.
See, come on. So here's my thinking.
Come on, Peter. Come on, girl.
Here's my thinking. And Robbie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not as versed in the comics. You might know something I don't. But I feel like this might be a fault more on the writers here in terms of just they didn't really give her much to do. They wanted to build up towards this relationship, and rather than give her real agency and give her really any kind of meaningful character arc, they just made her a character pining after Peter the whole time, which to me seems kind of weird because I never really pegged at her as the one going after Peter. I always thought it was just him going after her, and she was just kind of oblivious to his existence. But maybe I'm wrong on that regard.
She always played hard to get. So like before they were together, you know, like later on in the comics when they, you know, actually got married and that whole thing, it was always, you know, Peter, you know, loved her. He wanted to be with her, but he knew he couldn't be. So she would always be like, oh, okay. And like, just, you know, play hard to get. Wasn't really chasing him, but just letting him know, like, you're missing out, you know, Tiger, you know, always calling him that. So this was more like, it seemed like she was trying to initiate it and not playing hard to get, like literally being like, hey, look at me, dum-dum. Like, I want to be with you, instead of like doing it in a flirty, like, hey, you could have been with it, this type of, you know, vibe.
Yeah. I mean, like, and so I have not read the comics, so I can't speak for any authority on this, but from everything that I've seen, comic book Mary Jane doesn't really scream girl next door.
Also true.
and movie Mary Jane is absolutely girl next door. Like I have no hate for Kirsten Dunst or her portrayal. I think of what they were going for in this Mary Jane, I think she executed it beautifully. She definitely feels like the girl next door. All of the interactions with her feel like real. They just also feel kind of shitty. And I guess like from a pure acting perspective, that's really cool because it makes her more human. It's not just like this idealized girl that is off in the distance and Peter can't have her. Like Peter can't, like, she symbolizes all of the good things that Peter could have if he just stopped being Spider-Man. But in the movie, she's more than that. She's an actual person, and there's a part of her that really wants to be with him, despite everything else in her life saying that she shouldn't. So, like, from that perspective, like, I think her portrayal of the character is really, really good. I just also think there are parts of it that are really, really shitty.
God, I can't wait to get to next week when we talk about the actual relationship they get into, because boy, oh boy, do I have words for that.
Yeah. All right, I have monopolized a lot of time on. I will get off my soapbox. We can get to the actual discussion questions. I just had to get that off my chest.
I'll
because the two people around my boy Peter are kind of toxic sometimes.
I want to chime in with a quick 1-2 here on negatives, just real brief. You know me, Ryan. I cinema sins pretty hard. So when it comes to this movie, there was a few moments where I'm like, this seems like a cinema sin moment here. Like, you know, when he's delivering the pizza, those boxes are flying all over the place, spinning around. Those pizzas would have been fucking worthless by the time they got anywhere. So I don't know what the fuck he was thinking.
He was thinking about not being fired.
Listen,
Yeah.
Peter, you're either going to get fired for being late or getting fired for shitty pizzas. Take your pick.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
they
real.
got that Domino's insurance on them or something. They
Maybe.
can just get free pizza later.
Um,
Uh,
the other one I wanted to mention too is during the scene where he's at school, he drops his books, and everyone is fucking smacking him in the head with their shit as they're walking by. Now, I've been on a college campus, and typically if someone's fallen down or someone's on the ground like doing something like that, people will part the way for him. They won't like literally run into him at full force and smack him in the head with something. So it just seems weird to me that on a college campus that he's still getting treated like he's in high school. It's just very weird to me.
I mean, that's another. I feel like it's intentional because the entire movie is life shits on Peter Parker. So
I know.
that was an exaggeration of just like, no, life sucks for this dude right now.
I know. And to be fair,
it was-
to be fair, it's even worse in 3. But I just want to bring it up here before I dog on it in 3 next time. Those are the.
they literally when they hit you over the head with it, like
It's
no pun intended.
It's frustrating. Those are the biggest negatives I have. I mean, there's other things I think are just kind of weird decisions, but overall, I think everything else is still more or less positive.
Yeah.
Robbie, anything you want to add to the negative bit?
I really don't have any negatives with it besides kind of what Ryan was talking about. That'd be really my only thing.
Okay.
And, Harry's just a piece of shit, but he already spent plenty of time on that, so.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't become the villain of the third movie without being a bit of a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, look at the Spinosaurus in Jurassic Park 3.
You can also just develop your villain really good, but you
No.
can just have a well-developed villain like Alfred Molina, but that's it.
Yeah.
No, Ryan, we have to have someone be an asshole. That's how it works. Why it wasn't Eddie Brock and established here for the third movie, I don't know. But you know what? We'll discuss that in a later date.
Yeah. God damn it.
Overreached. They reached for the sun with Eddie Brock. Anyway, I'm sorry.
The power of the
You
sun.
have discussion questions
Yeah.
because, like,
Let's talk about
as
the movie.
much as we've been harping on this shit, like, there are very small points in an overwhelmingly amazing movie. So I can't wait to start talking about these things.
Indeed. First question I have. Why did the usher waste so much of Peter's time?
Because he was an asshole. By your logic, someone always has to be the asshole.
That's fair.
I think it just goes back to trying to hit you over the head with Peter's life just really sucks right now. And you think he has a chance right here, then bam, no, get the fuck out of here. Like, So.
Seriously, the dude was like, oh, your shoelace. Oh, you might want to fix your tie. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you think you were getting in?
Yeah.
Like, what?
So I guess
Oh, man.
so I guess that gets me to an interesting discussion question here. I think I might have wrote it down for the next one, but I want to bring it up here a little bit. What are your thoughts on a storyline like this, where it focuses on life shitting on Peter 90% of the film?
Robbie, come on, hit us with your take on this.
well, I think what they're trying to show here is, you ended the last movie with all this hope of, Peter embracing himself as a hero. And this movie is really trying to show you that being a hero is hard, and it's hard to live day-to-day life and still go out and be Spider-Man. They're showing, like, with great power becomes great responsibility, but this is the shitty part. And it makes his choice to basically stop being Spider-Man. Like, you understand why he got to that point. And I think that this is trying to show that. And it's a big part of, like, Peter, because, like, he grapples with this shit all the time. And to actually spend a whole movie on it, I think it was a bold choice, and I really liked it, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely agree on this. Like, it brought to mind, like, the concept of Peter is a normal 20-year-old college student trying to work several jobs and make it in, I'm pretty sure, the most expensive city in America by himself.
Maybe LA, but definitely New York is in contention.
Yeah, like, okay, so one of the most expensive cities in America, college student by himself, trying to work multiple jobs, have a normal social life, and save the city multiple times per day?
For free?
That's a lot, and he isn't getting paid shit. Oh, come on, guys. That, like, it's a lot, and I think this movie really calls that into light. Like the fact that at the end of the first movie, he realizes, he says, okay, look, even if I choose to do the right thing, the people I love are still going to pay the price. So as part of my responsibility, I have to do all this shit by myself and step away from those people.
But
and that's
Peter,
a common superhero thing that happens.
But Peter, you have Iron Man and the Avengers to help you. You're not alone.
Nope. I mean, that's a huge difference where we get to Tom Holland Spider-Man, but we're going to save that because I have words for that choice.
Oh, we do.
But I mean, like, in this one, you really, really feel that. Like, the weight of his decision at the end of the first movie to choose responsibility and do all the shit by himself is like, okay, if you're going to do all this by yourself, that means you have to handle your rent, that means you have to make classes, that means you have to hold down jobs, and you have to save the city multiple times a day. You can't tell anybody how you're struggling, and everybody around you just thinks you're an asshole and a flake because you're not reliable. That's hard. Like, being a superhero is tough. Like, I think this movie really shows how bad of a decision that is, because while it's noble that he wants to save people from like the consequences of his actions, he also cannot hold the entire world on his shoulders, and this movie calls that into light, I think. So I think it's a gutsy move, but it's definitely something that they needed to do because that's a big part of the Spider-Man mythos.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and going off that, too, I've always had a preference for stories where Peter is kind of struggling, where he's, like, in the position of needing to climb himself back up to something manageable, livable, happy. Like, I like it when a story ends on an optimistic note. Don't get me wrong. I think Peter ending with a good ending is typically the way it should go. But I like that the journey to get there is him struggling to find that those optimistic moments. I think it helps his character grow. I think it helps reinforce what you said about the struggles of being this hero and all the other struggles that come with it and the decisions being made. I think stories where he is happy-go-lucky and things are always working out for him tend to not work as well, and it's all the better when then tragedy strikes and shit hits the fan again. But I think definitely just in general, him struggling is where the stories are best for Spider-Man.
And just to jump on that as well, Aaron, and Ryan, I mean, you talked about this as well. Like, with Peter, I think why, people just resonate with Spider-Man is, like you were saying, like, he's this college kid working jobs and, like, trying to be a hero and, like, struggling. Like, even though we aren't superheroes, we can relate to that. We can relate to the shitty stuff that happens in life. And I think that's why a movie like this just really sits with you. And you're just like, damn, I know what that's like. Not the superhero part, but the rest of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And how often do people feel like they're barely keeping their heads above water in just holding their own shit together to the point where they find it hard to care or act upon other people's struggles when they're barely holding their shit together. So it's like this movie really brings into light this whole like the dichotomy of like being human in this society. You know, like I know a lot of people that are, honest to God, there are people who voted for Trump for this exact same reason, because they're so bogged down in their own issues, they can't spare sympathy for other people suffering elsewhere. So when this one dude shows up and says, I've got the answer to all your problems, it just means saying fuck you to all those other people. There are some people that are like, yeah, all right, they'll turn away from that guy getting mugged in the alley because they need an answer to their problems. And that's human. That is a human thing to feel. And I think like the big heroic turn of this movie is seeing not only does like his life gets better when he decides to take that route and not be Spider-Man anymore, but it still hurts to see other people suffering. And eventually Aunt May talks about how him choosing to set an example for other people and be that hero, that little heroic voice inside people's heads that makes them a little more noble, that makes them want to do the right thing. And so eventually they can die with a sense of pride that they made the right decision more often than not. He is the example for that voice in so many people's heads, and that's worth the sacrifice that he makes. This movie's really good, guys. This movie's just amazing.
And you know what? You're right. Peter struggles through school and all that stuff, and you know what would help him out? Some student loan forgiveness. Vote blue 2020. Anyway, sorry, I don't know what came out of me there. I think I just had a cold. So I guess to add all of that, to all those stresses too, Peter's powers just suddenly stop in the film. Like they just go away for a bit. Now I know thematically speaking, it likely ties into his stress, and it ties into him just kind of breaking and having an identity crisis as to what he wants to be. Is there any like, and Robbie, you might know better because you've seen the comics. Is there any like scientific or like logistical explanation for why you think his power stopped?
Well, I know in the cartoon they did a story kind of like on that where his like cells were breaking down because of the genetic variation or whatever. But in this story, I don't know if there's anything that could really tie to it. I think they were just trying to show the mental aspect of being Spider-Man. Maybe, losing confidence in himself and like he's just like, man, this fucking sucks. Like, it's kind of like performing in bed, like you said, the impotence thing earlier. That's a joke, but like, think about it. Like, he's just like, what's the point? I don't want to be Spider-Man, and you're not going to perform in that, aspect, right? I mean, could it be mental? Like, just.
I mean? That's where I kind of lean towards is a more psychological approach for sure. I mean, like we've been saying, he's got all these different stressors going on, and a lot of stuff's weighing him down, and he doesn't really know if he's being himself anymore, and he doesn't know if being Spider-Man's working for him. I mean, I could see that being a thing.
I mean, it's kind of like being a pro athlete, when you get the yips, or you as like, let's say you're a second baseman and you have a shitty game and you can't throw to first base, and then the next game you can't throw to first base, and then it's just into your head. You know what I mean? Like it could be something like that. Like golfers the same way. Like you have a bad hit, and then it just spirals from there. So it could be something like that.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of what you're talking about, as well as just like another like life sucks for Peter Parker right now, because literally when the rest of his life is falling apart, and like when the rest of his life is falling apart and he misses MJ's play, his first move is to put on the suit and just go do some hero. Because at the end of the day, like if everything else is falling apart, at least I'm still Spider. Oh no, actually you're not. Your power's not. Like what? So it's more just like bad shit happening to Peter, but I think it's also a purely mental thing because the rest of his life and his self-identity is so in disarray that his powers just aren't coming through. Like, it's only when everything becomes like really focused, and like, of course, it's only when Mary Jane is put in danger that everything becomes aligned again. It's just like, oh, yeah, no, all right, I didn't miss a beat. Let's go fight Doc Ock on the train. Let's go. Let's do one of the biggest superhero moves he's ever pulled to this point and stop a speeding train with his body. Let's do that. Like, he did that right after his powers came back, guys.
Yeah. That's crazy to think about.
I mean,
It's just like, my power's been wonky all the time. Oh shit, MJ's in trouble? Well, let's fucking level up and do the thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
He took that blue pill.
It's kind of like playing a game, rage quitting after you fought a boss 50 times and it doesn't work out. You come back like a month later, and suddenly, hey, you're one-shotting everything like the first 3 hours of the game, and everything's going great. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Does this version of Doc Ock work for you? Why or why not?
Very much so. Very much so. I think the decision to pick Alfred Molina was fantastic. I think it was cool that they didn't pick a guy, like, they didn't say, Alfred Molina, you have to have a six-pack. I think that's great. Honestly, I think that's great, because why would a dedicated, like, scientist devote, like, himself to spending 8 hours in the gym? Why? Why would you have him look like Chris Hemsworth in that instance?
Mm-hmm.
Well, plus he's got 4 metal arms to do lifting for him. Why would he need to do it?
Right. Now, of course, it is kind of ridiculous that he's taking punches from Spider-Man, who can canonically lift tons. He's taking punches to the face, and they're like, "Nah, it's fine, fuck it, let's keep going." I'm like, you have metal arms, but dude, you are a normal human. You are getting wrecked right now. What's happening? Still, I was perfectly with it. I love that they took the time to establish who Otto Octavius was before the incident. Like, you get that little 5-10 minute bit of Peter talking with him and his wife before everything goes wrong, and it's just enough to really establish a connection to him, to really give a feel for his character. He is a brilliant mind, but a very caring person. He's a caring and devoted husband. He's in love with his wife. He loves science. He loves talking to Peter. Like, he wants to achieve greatness. And it's only after everything goes wrong, and 4 metal arms with a malicious AI also start intruding onto his mind, that he becomes this guy who can take old ladies hostage and drop them off them off a building and say, "Butterfingers, oops." I'm like, what the fuck? I love this rendition of him. I think Alfred Molina played it perfectly. And I love that he was able to also maintain enough of the character to give it a good redemption turn at the end.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would add to what Ryan said is it's kind of like I stated earlier. I think they did a really good job of one of my favorite type of villain stories. It's similar to what they did with Mr. Freeze in the Batman animated series, where you empathize with the villain, you understand what happened to him, so he's just not evil for being evil. Like, all this shit happened after everything went wrong. This AI took over, like, all that, but you get to see him redeem himself. You get to see that good come back. It's like Darth Vader, like, you got to see that good come back, and that's the full arc, and it's just awesome to see. And in his love of science and having that relationship with Peter, like, it was really well done. I mean, it was similar to the first movie with Defoe and Green Goblin, having that relationship with Peter and it coming back at the end. Like, they did the same thing and it worked again. So
yeah. I think it elevates your comic book movie when you have a villain that is three-dimensional, and like there are parts of him that you can absolutely relate to, like having the crazy Green Goblin is fun, and it's absolutely a part of comic books, and you definitely need those guys. But the villains that you can empathize with, and that you can see where they're coming from, even if they're going about it like a terrible way, like the fact that there's a part of you that's like, yeah, I get that. I think it elevates the whole story that you're telling.
I'll say it's not my favorite version of Doc Ock, but considering that we've had, to my knowledge, 3 prominent Doc Ocks across the most recent video games and movies, I would say that all 3 of them are spectacular. We'll get to one of them later this season, but as for this one, I think my only issue is that I don't fully like the idea that the AI of the arms just suddenly takes over. Like, I think it's a cool gimmick for this film, but I think, logistically speaking, I kind of prefer how they handle it in the more recent video game adaptation, where it's not that the arms have AI that take over, but it's just that Doc Ock's brain itself is kind of turning against him.
Yep.
Like, I think I like that better, because it does speak to mental illness, and it does speak to why he needs those arms to help him do stuff in the first place, and it kind of adds that other empathetic layer to him that doesn't require a goofy, gimmicky AI arm thing. But for this film, it works for what it's doing.
Yeah. I think, like, from the video game, like, I think it's cool in the video game because it makes Octavius's character a little more three-dimensional when you realize that pride and that hubris and that arrogance, that all comes from him. Like it's a part of him. Like, it's not AI starting to creep into his subconscious. Like, there's a part of Octavius that's like, if you get this power, you know, some people can die for you to get your shit. Like, you can go do that. Like, there's a part of him that is capable of doing that. I think in this movie, it wasn't, or at least it didn't read to me that the AI had completely taken over his mind, but rather it was just like an insidious voice that was like kind of feeding his inner demons, like the devil on your shoulder. That's just like, no, we have to build the shit. We're gonna get this done. We're gonna be proven right. And if you have to rob a bank to get the shit done, then god damn it, that's what we're gonna do. I feel like the arms were just like the devils on his shoulder. Like, and it still stemmed from him, but you're right, the AI is a bit of a crutch, like, that they use to get him to go a little more insane a little quicker. Otherwise, the caring Otto Octavius just ceases to exist, because how can you have those two people be the same person without something drastic and like continuous happening?
I'll jump ahead here real quick. Does this trilogy feel a little too focused on Peter's love life? Why or why not?
Rob, you want to take this, man?
And
I've already harped on this a lot.
Yeah, you have. We should probably save that for the next one, but yeah,
I mean, we'll dive deep into it next time.
It does. Yeah, I understand why they focus on Mary Jane. You know, she's the most well-known love interest of Spider-Man. Like,
but what about Betty Brant?
Well, Betty Brant, Gwen Stacy, the whole thing, like, which we'll talk about Gwen Stacy in the next one too. Since they started with her, she was the girl next door, kind of like you were talking about before, Ryan. Like, I understand why they kept interweaving this, but it did take a lot of time out of the movie, each movie. I don't know. And they just made Mary Jane, like, always pining for Peter, and then, I'm going to date Harry now, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So, yeah, I would say too much time.
I think that I think that the main character having a relationship outside of his, like, Spider-Man life is good. I think the relationship thing is good, but I do think they devote a little more time than necessary for it. Like, we get it by this movie, but I think that it just becomes a distraction, especially when we could devote more time to building up Doc Ock some more, or seeing Peter struggle with other stuff, or even bring in more Harry Peter stuff to maybe see if they can patch things up or something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said they didn't have much for Mary Jane to do, and like Kirsten Dunst is a great actress, she's a fantastic actress, and like they don't just want to have her there for eye candy, or they just don't want to have her there be like the goal, the unobtainable goal, the life that Peter can never have while he's Spider-Man, like, or at least what he thinks in his mind. So having a great actress that can bring some life to whatever role you give her, I feel like you don't want to waste that talent. And so they made her storyline weeb so that she was constantly trying to get Peter's attention. But you're right, it did take a lot of focus. And I think that was a choice on the director's part.
Mm-hmm.
And then last bit here, I think I mentioned it a little bit briefly earlier, but the film does invest a fair amount of screen runtime to one-off gags and asides that would make this film feel a worse film feel bloated. How do you think this movie manages to keep all those moments in there without feeling like it's too much stuff?
When you say one-off gags and asides, what do you mean specifically? Like, can you give us an example?
The best example I can think of is early on with the elevator scene. Like in a worse movie, that would feel like, okay, we're wasting a lot of time on this one. But this actually, it just felt like a nice little sprinkle on what we already had.
Well, for me personally, it feels like those asides are just Spider-Man getting to interact with. Hold on. I was hoping it would get quieter while I was talking. All right. I think for those asides, it feels like Spider-Man getting to interact with the city of New York. And so each one that happens that's like individual in its own right, it gets to really showcase the wide array of people in New York and who Spider-Man gets to come into contact with. So it didn't feel bad for me because it just felt like it was enriching the world. They never spent too much time on it. It was always funny and just like really interesting. And it added some more color and some more depth to the world instead of just having big skyscraper and random people running away from danger. Like it gave the city some more character for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's important to have that type of stuff in these movies, specifically for Spider-Man, and I think they've done a good job of that over all the Spider-Man movies, even Tom Holland's version, of just having him interact with, the things around him, because, Spider-Man's a man of the people, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like, it's good to have these like one-off things that are just part of his character, I feel like.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
All right. Well, we are running... This is running long, but this is a late night, so why don't we go on to our next segment, which is the mail call. Just a reminder for everybody. If you want to reach out to us for for us to read and listen to your responses on our shows and read them out loud on our exclusive Patreon show to give you guys heads up on upcoming events, you can reach out to us on Tumblr, Twitter, or Facebook. You can also email us. Ryan, what might that email be?
That email is Harry Osborn is still a piece of shit, guys. I just want to reiterate. Sorry. That's evacstation@gmail.com.
And yet he might still be president someday. But let's go on to the final segment where we rank the film from platinum to shit and all the colors in between. Gentlemen, where do you want to rank this one at? I think I might know where Robbie's sitting.
Robbie, go first. Robbie, go first.
I don't care about your guys' ruling system. I love platinum, baby. No, for real. Like it. The reason it's platinum is, like I stated when I first said my initial thoughts. Like, this movie is just really well done from start to finish. It just shows Peter at his most vulnerable. It has a great villain. It has a great action scene with them on the train and him stopping it and having, as you said, his Jesus Christ moment. It just, it tied all these things together, and it was just an excellent follow-up to what was already a great movie in the first Spider-Man, and just a great second movie. It was one of the first sequels better than the original, I felt like, movies in quite some time. And it's just, even though it's a heavy movie to watch and it does have sad moments like Ryan stated, it's just a great movie to watch all the way through.
Indeed. Ryan, what do you got?
Okay, so again, I'm struggling. I'm looking for reasons I'm looking for reasons to not give it platinum. Also, considering where we're going and the movies that we have yet to talk about.
Would you like me to say my piece real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So for me,
I also want to hear what you say.
So for me, this one I think is going to be a gold, and it's not that it doesn't deserve platinum, but again, I think there is, for certain, one film in this whole collection we're going to be going to that tops them all. And if you know me, and I think, Ryan, we've discussed it before, like as a pre-roll kind of thing, like before we did pre-roll, like the what you're watching segments.
Actually, yeah, I just remembered what I'm pretty sure your platinum's going to be.
Yep. I've locked it in for a while now. I know what it's going to be, and it's not that this film isn't as good as that one. It's that film blows everything out of the water with the unique stuff it does, that I can't help but just give that one more attention. But at the time this came out, this is definitely the tops, and it's probably the tops of live-action Spider-Man overall, I think. So this is probably going to be the highest live-action Spider-Man I will give throughout this entire season, which I feel bad for saying that when we have 4 more of those coming up.
All right. Well, you know what? Like hearing you say that and realizing what I'm pretty sure your platinum's going to be, I think I still feel comfortable. And again, I'm guessing, but also remembering that one, I'm going to give this platinum as well. I'm probably going to join you on that future one with platinum, but I'm okay with giving 2 platinums. The reason why is because the other movie that I'm thinking of that deserves platinum absolutely deserves platinum, but it does so many things different from this movie that I think they're a bit on equal footing in regards to like the groundbreaking stuff and what they actually do with the stories that they're given.
Absolutely.
I think the dramatic acting in this movie is top notch. I think the decision to use more CGI in the fights was fantastic because you really got that visceral feeling of Spider-Man fucking duking it out with Doc Ock. Like, these guys were slugging, and it was really, really fun to see. I think Alfred Molina did a fantastic job in making a villain that you actually really felt bad for at the end of it, even though he tried to kill Aunt May for a hot second.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, overall, this is a platinum for me, and it will probably be one of the 2 platinums that I give for this season.
Mm-hmm. I will add that to my consideration. I think that this movie, as good as it is, does show its age a little bit. Not as much as some other films by any means, but you can definitely see the ages here and there a little bit. I think the one I'm saving aside for later, I think it is going to have a timeless quality to it. But we'll see when we get there. We will see.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, Leah. Let's remember that because I wanna go back to that when we get there.
With that, everybody, thank you for watching. It's been a great time talking about Spider-Man twice in a row here. Tune in next week when we will be talking about Spider-Man 3.
Yes.
And the dark times sort of begin.
Oh yeah.
The
Good stuff.
the geeky venom. Oh boy, here we go.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you after the credits.
Bye.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, up next on the podcast line. Peter's out after 3, then gets rebooted by Sony. Look out, another Spider-Man. Leave a like, hit subscribe, if you can dig on the spot. Can you donate to our sub? $1 would be enough. And thus, it's the after credits cast.